That's sort of the big picture of religion. I think what I like to emphasize also is what the study of religion will make a difference to you in your daily life after college, in your day-to-day workplace. And the way I describe this knowledge is with the phrase religious literacy, that we all need to be literate in order to move around the world and be successful in our jobs and careers. And religious literacy is also important. I've been noticing in the newspaper recently, virtually in the last month every day, in the first section of the paper, either national or international news, there were stories that had a religious element in them. And to be able to read those stories and to be able to determine, do these things make a difference to me? Or can I just skip this article? We need to be literate because we won't know whether they're important or not if we have no knowledge of religion. And I can just give some examples from the past year in my own state of Iowa where religious literacy in the population has been important. In Des Moines, just about a year ago this time, there was a Asian family that was visited by the police because they were burning money on their front steps. And one of the neighbors called, and the police thought they were burning counterfeit money and that there was a crime going on. Well, they were celebrating the New Year, and this was ritual money. The police officer was clueless, the neighbors were clueless, and there was some significant damage done to community relations with the various representatives and members of Asian communities living in Des Moines. This could have been avoided if the police officer had had a Religions of the World class. In my own community, there was a huge controversy. We have a large Muslim population, about 4,000 persons, which is a significant population in a community of only about 100,000 people. And they have moved there as refugees from Bosnia, most of them in the last 3 years. And there was no Muslim cemetery, and they wanted one. And there was a huge controversy about where this would be, and questions for the health department about their burial customs. And the leaders of the Jewish community were very helpful by linking at the city council meetings the practices in their cemetery with the Muslim practices, and eventually one site was vetoed because of neighbor opposition. Another site next to the Jewish cemetery was selected, and everything ended well. But again, there was a period of unpleasantness, making our new neighbors feel unwelcome in our community because persons said things about their burial customs that were based just on ignorance and absence of what I call religious literacy. And just to take one other example, the question of an accounting firm. This is an accounting firm where a woman I've actually interviewed in my own research, an Orthodox Jewish woman, has to leave work early on Fridays so that she may get home in order to light the Sabbath candles at sunset, and she cannot work on Saturdays during tax season. Well, what should the company do? Can they have an accountant who has to leave in the winter hours? She has to leave work at about 3:30. She can't work on Saturdays in tax season. Is this acceptable for an employee, or are they justified in firing her? Well, religious literacy does a couple things for that. It tells us what her religious practices are, and also, hopefully, a bit about laws in our country and practices of accommodation to persons' religious beliefs. So those are just some examples of why I think any student will find time well spent in a religion class. Big picture answers to questions and ones you may encounter in the workplace right after you graduate.